Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Massive welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. I've got a great show for you today. Consuelo Vanderbilt Costin is a seventh generation descendant of the shipping and railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt. But rather than take the easy road, she chose her own path as both a musician and an entrepreneur. Consuelo has enjoyed a fantastic career as a recording artist, where her first 4 singles alone hit the top 20 on the Billboard Dance Charts. But despite enjoying chart success on both sides of the Atlantic, she also experienced more than a few pain points along the way within that creative industry. But Consuelo's entrepreneurial instincts quickly kicked in as she set out to create solutions to all those frustrations that she experienced and that are also faced by creatives on a regular basis. Ironically, despite mapping out her own future on her own terms, Consuelo is continuing her family's legacy of connecting people. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail here because I think it's a fantastic story and something that Consuelo will tell us much, much better than I can. So buckle up, hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to New York City so we can speak with musician, artist, entrepreneur and co-founder and president of SohoMuse, Consuelo Vanderbilt Costin. Big warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, Neil, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's such an honor to be here. And my name's Consuelo Vanderbilt Costin. I have been a singer-songwriter for over 13 years, and I am an entrepreneur and the co-founder and president of SohoMuse.
Excellent. Now, you've enjoyed a fantastic career as a recording artist. I mean, your first 4 singles alone hit the top 20 on the Billboard Dance Charts. I mean, your debut single, Naked, spent 16 weeks on the charts, while your follow-up single, Feel So Alive, earned you Billboard's #2 Breakout Artist honour. So you've enjoyed fantastic chart success on both sides of the Atlantic too. But has music always been a big part of your life?
It has. You know, I was a gymnast at the age of 6 years old, and I really did look like a miniature Mike Tyson, but we're not going to go there. And and so I did that, and I was in a squad actually in England, and I tried out for the choir when I was 11, and I didn't get in. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, I love performing. I love being an entertainer. And I spent 6 months in training, and I then tried out, and I ended up having the loudest voice in the choir and haven't shut up since. So there was something, I love music. I love that, for instance, talking about Naked, I had a 6-piece male rock band in LA, and we played everywhere from the Roxy to the Whiskey to, we toured a lot. And it was definitely more of like a pop rock band, I would say. And so to have Naked actually break out as a dance single is just extraordinary. And that's what I love about music, that it crosses every medium, that you could have a pop song that turns into a country song, a rap song that turns into I think it's so extraordinary. I don't know any other medium, the creative medium, that really allows you to be able to do that. So I love music. I feel very blessed of the career that I've had and the people that I've worked with.
I've got to ask, did you enjoy the touring aspect? It's probably not as glamorous as we think it is, but I love the idea of it, and I hope one day that someone creates a black and white video of me sat glaring out of a tour bus window while the ballad plays, But
I can see that happening.
But did you enjoy that aspect of it?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I really loved it. And what I loved about the formatting of tours is the difference between, for instance, working with a band and being on tour versus working with dancers and being on tour that way. And really being able to experience that, and just the difference of the way, for instance, how dancers preserve, and they're so inside of their body and their skin, and the way that they absorb music versus a musician and a guitarist. I mean, watching all of that type of behavior is amazing, that every night is something different to tell a story. that, I've been singing the same song over and over again, 1,000 times, and to find a different way for me to be able to reach the audience. Germany and the UK were extraordinary, just audiences for me, and very receptive and just fun and engaging, and that's the greatest thing about being a performer. Really, is you're feeding off of the audience, and you're you're just giving a show and hopefully making an impact that people would leave and feel a little bit differently than they did, an hour before.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's fair to say that it would have been incredibly easy for you to choose a different route, the easy route, and just drift through life without questioning too much. But what I love about your story is you've chosen your own path and done things your way through the creative world of both music and entrepreneurship. I mean, you were once dubbed the rebel heiress by Prestige magazine, but I think this shows tremendous heart and courage, because has creative always been that close to your heart? And what is it about entrepreneurship that also you find so compelling?
Let me tell you a very dirty secret. My dad, at around 19, said to me, he gave me two choices. So based on the women of my family who, and I'm very proud of them, and especially my mom, but that they lived and were raised as debutantes, and it was a very different type of lifestyle, let's put it that way. Yeah. And my dad said to me, if you want to be an artist and live like one, then you've got to go out into the world and really kind of fend for yourself, and take on this career and really live and breathe like an artist, so you actually have something to say. So I was cut off. So most people do not know that. Yeah. And it was the greatest lesson. It was the greatest struggle. I'm the worst waitress alive, and I'm a disaster, and have been fired for more waitressing jobs you could ever imagine. But barring that, I really did live and breathe and learn what it meant for me to be an artist, I think, is the most important. Do you know what I mean? So that actually I had something to say, and that there was something, that it was real inside of my life and who I was. Same thing as I never used the Vanderbilt name as an artist. That was always something very important to me, that there was never a tone or people thinking, something differently, rather than actually just accepting me for who I am and who I was as an artist in my music. And I really respect Anderson Cooper for kind of a similar path and a similar choice. My stepfather, who, is probably the greatest mentor of my life, was a self-made producer. So I watched through his eyes the value of money, and I watched the struggles that he went through and what he overcame and became so incredibly successful. So I got to see, really, as a young child, a real dichotomy between, what my family, as the Vanderbilt side, going and seeing my grandparents and kind of seeing that side and that legacy, to also really watching my stepfather, who worked 24 hours a day and was constantly on set and working every film. And so, I feel incredibly blessed that I had the opportunity to see all of it. And I think that's really defined me. And so when I look at the rebel heiress comment, I've always been a rebel. I've never made sense right to my family, and always done things completely, I've kind of walked to the beat of my own drum, for sure. Heiress, I hate that word and that connotation, to be honest, because I don't abide by that. But I think the two together really work. Yeah. And it's redefining who you are, making a stand for your own beliefs and walking your own path. And again, I think that by really having been raised to see both sides has kind of, as I said, made me who I am today.
Absolutely. It's an incredibly powerful story too. So it must be, I don't know, so empowering what you went through there, because to actually experience what you did, that's probably the greatest lesson you could have ever been given, wasn't it?
Without question.
Yeah. So anyway, you're now launching a brand new networking platform specifically built for creatives across film, fashion, TV, music and art called SohoMuse. But for anyone listening today and hearing about SohoMuse for the very first time, can you just help explain exactly what it is and the story behind the company and where the idea and inspiration came from?
So, SohoMuse is the trusted source for creatives. It is a professional exclusive networking site for all 11 verticals, whether you're a painter, an artist, a dancer, a writer, a musician, that it's all encompassing in one place, a one-stop shop. And let me tell you the kind of core differentiators so that really understanding as you're walking into this site, it's a hybrid of both a portfolio platform and a social network community. Although it's private invite only, it's not only community, but you can really set your profile settings to public and private. So you can use this as your own personalized website. So that's out of the gates. You're working on two sides. So you have the ability to really use this as your own personalized website, but you're also inside of this incredible global ecosystem of creatives. And if you take a film like 300, there's over 3,000 employees from the makeup artists to the cinematographers to the hairstylists, and that all creatives work together. Primarily, when I've looked at this and what drove me to come up with the idea is twofold. One, I would come home from the studio late at night, and I was really looking for a world of inspiration. So how could an actor, a writer, a dancer, a musician all connect and collaborate in one place? And that was the first thing. Yeah. And the second thing being that, for instance, I was on tour a year and a half ago, and I lost a dancer in real time, and I'm on a TV show. So SohoMuse allows me to go in, find a dancer in Berlin, see who they've been endorsed by, have my choreographer in LA be able to send the portfolio of exactly what's needed to be done, and to be able to book them. And that's why I say one-stop shop. We have compiled basically what people are doing in 15 to 20 different websites and put them all in one place. So you start out of the gates into this very visually rich, stimulating environment that's so easy to navigate. You will have your own digital interactive business cards that can be chopped and changed immediately. So for instance, if I'm a recording artist and I've met a producer and I want a specific visual, I can put that. Changing out my representatives, whether my agent, my manager, my lawyer, you have the ability out of the gates on your phone, on the website, in 2 seconds to be able to change out your information. Also creating these extraordinary portfolio galleries whereby, for instance, if let's use the recording artist example, if I'm sending my music to a music supervisor, and let's say I use 5 samples of different audio, my resume, visuals, and I can send that specific portfolio gallery to that music licensing agent, let's say. But what I can do is for every other gallery that I have, I can create that as private. So I have a real way of being able to contain my information. So same thing, one of the things when we were talking, and this will actually answer a question for you later on, is talking to agents and managers, that agents, for instance, wanted the ability to take, let's say, 5 of their actors. A casting director is looking for someone to play a part as an attorney, to be able to put their reel, their images, and their resume all into one portfolio, to be able to send that to the casting director, and then the casting director is only seeing that. So it's not distracting them from any other role that they've played. So that's what I mean by really these specialized portfolio galleries. Like, for instance, we have, art dealers inside of this site that have 10 or 15 of their various different artists that they're showing. Fashion designers who are showing, their different types of collections, whether it's their fall collection or, so it's really customizing all of that. And I bring it back to taking what people are doing, multiple different sites, bringing it all into one place in this beautiful, rich, stimulating, exclusive environment. There you go.
Now, after interviewing over 300 people on this show, I find out in the majority of cases, startups or new businesses are all created by those that want to solve problems that they've encountered. So, having heard your story there about losing a dancer in real time when you're about to go on TV, it's fair to say that you set out to remove frustrations or pain points that you had personally encountered, right?
Yes, and for instance, the chairman of the company just had a big film that just came out, and he lost 4 editors in real time. So go in to SohoMuse, our search functionality is so specific that I'm looking for an Adobe editor in Los Angeles, see who they've been endorsed by, see their media galleries. It's that defined. So it's really solving solutions because the site was built by creatives for creatives. And some of the other people that are involved in this site, when let's say you're in production, right? And you're working remotely in different places, let's say in remote parts of Italy, the ability to be able to find specific crew in those areas and to find out who they've worked with, rather than going through this arduous process of having to speak to 15 to 20 different people, to know that you have all of this inside of SohoMuse, and it's, really and the word exclusive, is obviously one of those words that can sound alienating. It's not meant to. It's really for the creative working professional. But it's understanding that you're working within your network locally, globally. So you feel safe that you're able to have that. So I think that's a big one. And yes, that was a huge frustration for me with the dancer. And now I've solved that problem. So that's very exciting.
Now, I also read a great quote from you where you said that you find it interesting how technology pivots, changes and evolves constantly. It moves so quickly as an entrepreneur, you're never going to stop growing. And every day is a new learning curve and process. And I think you really nailed the tech startup world and entrepreneurial roller coaster ride that contains so many highs and lows. But what is it about the speed of tech change and learning curves that you love so much?
Well, I had to really appreciate the creativity of tech, right? Because, obviously not being someone that's a coder or, that I can't really understand the verbiage and the language, but I understand the behavior of the things that I've not been able to do. And, one of the things about building websites is such an arduous, insane process, whether you're doing using a Weebly. I mean, I'm sorry, those things are really hard to learn, or you're hiring a web developer and you're spending such an insane amount of money on the web hosting and to get things updated and immediate, right? Yeah. So all of that, to know then kind of in my own frustrations of the things that I was having difficulties with, being able to really build out SohoMuse in a very fast and organic way, watching now, the second that we went live, into our beta launch, is that you're starting to see the psychology of what each of the different creatives actually need. And that to me is so fascinating. And that is why I'm loving technology, because it's so fast, it's so immediate, and it's global, right?
Yeah. So what is your grand vision for SohoMuse over the next few years? Are there any big goals or milestones that you're chasing? And are you expecting to pivot along the way too, or for the platform to evolve along with you as well?
I do, and considering that we're just in beta currently right now, that we have the suite of tools for the users today, but we're continuing to grow. Where it starts is obviously the beginning is connecting. Yeah. So it's connecting the creatives together. Once they're inspired and they're feeling that they are showcasing themselves in the best way possible, the immediate reaction from that is for them to start collaborating. So starting out, obviously, in our beta launch right now, it's all about the connecting of the creatives, them platforming themselves in the best way possible. Then from there, giving them the suite of tools to be able to collaborate in a really effective, efficient way. And then the third side of this is the distribution component. And so we're talking specifically to blockchain partners right now in order to enable a creative, an artist, to be able to sell their content on the platform, and that they have complete creative control over their works. And that is very exciting.
Absolutely. But you do seem to have a very exciting life there. You're artist, entrepreneur, where does it stop? I mean, you are incredibly busy. Is there anything else that you're working? Oh man, we're not going to get this question out, are we?
Yes, we are. So we have some very so for the launch, we have some very exciting things going on, actually pertaining to Fashion Week, and really working within our ambassadors and our creatives for a really exciting launch that'll be happening, as I said, all around Fashion Week. And then being able to replicate that model for all other industries, whether that be music, whether that be art or design, and being very strategic about, using what we have right now, starting out with the 100 ambassadors who've invited 10 people each, setting the precedent of the tone and the quality of the niche of people in SohoMuse, and being able to leverage all of the extraordinary things that they're doing, and creating insane visibility for SohoMuse.
So before I let you go, can you point the listeners in the direction of where they can find out more information about SohoMuse and anything else that we've spoken about today, or if they just want to reach out and ask questions to a member of your team, what's the best way of doing that?
Go to www.sohomuse, SohoMuse.com. I will be readily available at any time for any questions. There is a concierge service, which is also something that I would love to tell you about, which is very exciting, that we have industry trade related information, articles that you can't get anywhere else. And our concierge actually introduces people. So for instance, I have a director right now who is putting on a TV show and is looking for a DP, actors, cinematographers, and we are creating the foundation for him for all the right introductions. So SohoMuse is the new world.
You're going to regret saying I'm open for any questions. I think you might get bombarded there, but I'll leave you with that one. But again, a big thank you for coming on today. What I love about what you've done there is you've united the creative world by combining music, entrepreneurship and technology. And I think it's a fantastic thing. I don't know anybody else that's done that. And maybe that's that rebel hera spirit that you've got going on there. But to unite all those worlds and create something from it is a fantastic thing. So thanks for coming on today.
Neil, you're the greatest. Thank you for saying. Thank you for having me.
I fully understand the term rebel hera and how it could have been incredibly frustrating for Consuelo when she was trying to form her own path in life. In some ways, it is a lazy term and it doesn't tell her whole story. But the two words together really hint at the story behind her heart and courage and to do things her own way. But what I really love about this story is that once again, she's encountered some pain points when living the life of a creative and decided to do something about it and create her own platform. What's incredibly interesting is how just as Cornelius Vanderbilt bridged the country together for business and trade through shipping and railroads, we're now living in a digital age, and Consuelo is now doing something very similar with SohoMuse. Whether that be musicians, artists, directors, fashion stylists, and so many more that are all looking to digitally connect and be connected, it's essentially the same thing, and I think that's what's incredibly exciting about this project. And creatives across the entire industry now can upload portfolios, look for gigs, and even get recommended all through this new platform. And despite her family not being able to see that vision that she had in the early days, the outcomes are, like I said, remarkably similar. And you know what? Although so much has changed over the years, the one thing that hasn't in 100 years is connecting people. And that is something that we're all trying to do. Indeed, it's something that I try to do with this show too. So anyone that is aiming to do that for the right reasons should be applauded. So, Consuelo, I salute you.
Where do you listen to the show? On a walk or run? When cooking or washing the dishes? At the gym? Walking the dog? Or is the Tech Blog Writer podcast the soundtrack to your commute? Why not let Neil know by tweeting him at Neil C. Hughes, or say hello on the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/techblogwriterpodcast.
A big thank you to my digital sidekick once again there. And I meant what I said in the show about connecting people. And for every single one of you listening to this show in over 150 countries, remember that my door is always open. If you want to send a pic where you listen to this show, say hello, or simply send me an email. I'm really easy to find. But I'm afraid we're out of time now. So one thank you to each and every one of you for listening today. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.